Single mom slept in her car with her baby, until the CEO knocked on the window changed everything. Rain hammered against the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists as Emily Parker tried to quiet her trembling breath. The storm outside didn't frighten her as much as the reality inside the small red minivan where she clutched her 3-year-old daughter, Lily, against her chest. The child finally drifted to sleep, wrapped in a worn pink blanket, unaware that the car had become their home for the night, and for many nights before. Emily's soaked hair clung to her cheeks, and though her arms ached, she held Lily as if the world might try to rip her away at any second. It was past midnight, the parking lot nearly empty, and the cold crawled into her bones. She had lost her job, lost her apartment, and lost nearly every piece of stability she had fought to build. And she believed that no one, absolutely no one, was coming to help. That was before the shadow approached in the rain. Before the knock on the fogged window. Before the man with the umbrella changed everything. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe kindness, compassion, and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps stories like this reach more hearts. Emily had parked behind a 24-hour grocery store on the edge of town, choosing the darkest corner hoping no one would notice a single mother sleeping in her vehicle. She hated the way it made her feel, small, invisible, almost ashamed, but she had run out of options faster than she ever expected. After a fire in her apartment building destroyed her unit, she received a payout that barely covered her first week in a motel. When she couldn't find childcare, she lost her job. When she lost her job, she lost everything else. Every night, she promised Lily tomorrow would be better. Every morning, she felt that promise slipping farther away. Yet what Emily feared most wasn't hunger or cold. It was being seen like this. Vulnerable. Broken. A mother failing her own child. That was why she froze when the knock came. A strong, hollow tap on the car window, sharp enough to slice through the storm. Emily's heart stopped. She pulled Lily tighter and slowly lifted her head. A tall figure stood outside, rainwater streaming down the edges of a large black umbrella. The man's hood cast shadows across his face, but even through the blur of raindrops and fear, she sensed danger. She held her breath, praying he would walk away. But he didn't. Instead, he stepped closer, raising a hand to gently wipe a clear patch on her window so she could see him better. In the brief moment their eyes met, Emily saw something she hadn't seen in a very long time: concern. Not judgment. Not pity. Just genuine concern. But she didn't open the door. She didn't trust anyone anymore. She stayed perfectly still, like a frightened animal cornered, and waited for him to leave. Moments passed. The rain softened. The man lowered his umbrella slightly, leaned in, and said something Emily couldn't hear, but his expression wasn't angry or threatening. He looked worried. For her. The man finally stepped back, reached into his coat pocket, placed something carefully under her windshield wiper, and walked away into the shadows. Emily waited several minutes before daring to unlock the door and retrieve whatever he had left. It was a business card, sleek, black, expensive-looking. And embossed in gold letters were the words: Jonathan Hale, CEO, Hale Industries. Her breath trembled. She had heard the name before. Everyone had. Jonathan Hale was one of the youngest billionaires in the state, a man known for his success but not for personal involvement in anything outside boardrooms and business deals. Why would he approach her? How did he even notice her? Under his name, in neat handwriting, he had added: If you need help, please call. Emily stared at the card as if it were a lifeline and a threat at the same time. People didn't help for no reason. They didn't stop for struggling mothers in parking lots. And no one, absolutely no one, offered kindness without wanting something in return. So she didn't call. Not that night, nor the next. But everything changed 3 days later. After using the last of her money on food for Lily, Emily felt herself unraveling. The exhaustion was too heavy, the fear too sharp, the loneliness too overwhelming. Lily developed a fever in the cold car, and Emily's own body shook with stress as she tried to soothe her daughter with warm compresses soaked from a gas station sink. Emily held Lily, burying her own tears in her daughter's hair, whispering apologies that broke her heart. At dawn, Emily finally made the call. Her fingers trembled so violently the phone almost slipped from her hand, but when Jonathan answered, his voice was calm, steady, warm. He didn't ask why she hadn't called earlier. He didn't talk down to her. He simply said he would come immediately. Emily didn't believe him. But 20 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up beside her car. Jonathan stepped out, wearing a hooded coat again, but in the new morning light she could see him clearly. Early 30s. Sharp features softened by empathy rather than severity. Deep-set eyes that carried their own kind of storm. He looked powerful, confident, but also human, deeply human. He approached slowly, hands visible, movements gentle, like someone approaching a frightened deer. Emily's heart pounded as she balanced her desperation with her distrust. Jonathan didn't ask to enter the car. Instead, he crouched outside her window and asked if Lily was all right. When Emily hesitated, he pulled a small first aid kit and bottled water from the back seat of his SUV and set them gently near the door. He told her she could stay seated. He wasn't here to force anything. He just wanted to help. The compassion in his voice cracked something inside Emily, something she'd been trying desperately to hold together. She opened the car door. The moment Jonathan saw Lily's flushed cheeks and tired eyes, his expression tightened with concern, not judgment. He suggested they take her to a nearby urgent care clinic. He would cover everything. Emily almost refused. Almost. But Lily whimpered softly and leaned against her, and a mother's instinct finally overpowered her pride. Jonathan drove them through the city. Emily sat in the back with Lily, feeling strangely safe in the presence of a stranger who had no reason to show them kindness. At the clinic, Jonathan handled paperwork discreetly, never once making her feel exposed or small. Lily had an infection that required antibiotics, and Emily's relief was so overwhelming she nearly collapsed. But what stunned her most was that Jonathan didn't leave after ensuring Lily was safe. Instead, he drove them to a cafe, bought breakfast, and sat across from her with a level of patience she had never expected from a man whose time was more valuable than gold. When Emily began to open up, quietly, cautiously, as if each word weighed something, Jonathan listened. Truly listened. She told him about the fire, about losing her job at the diner, about her ex-husband who vanished the moment responsibility appeared. She told him how she fought every day to protect Lily from the world and from the harsh truth that they were living in a car. And she told him about her fear, the fear that she wasn't enough. Her hands shook on the table. Jonathan reached across and gently placed his hand over hers, not in a romantic way, but in a grounding way, like anchoring someone who had drifted too far into despair. He told her she was stronger than she realized. That she had done everything she could. That she wasn't failing her child, she was saving her. And those simple words broke her. Over the next few days, Jonathan quietly arranged temporary housing for Emily and Lily, a modest but safe apartment. When Emily insisted she didn't want charity, he offered something else instead. A job interview. His company needed administrative support, and he believed she had more resilience and capability than half the resumes on his desk. Emily wasn't sure if she believed him, but she took the interview. She got the job. The first morning she walked into Hale Industries, she was overwhelmed. The towering building of glass and steel made her palms sweat, yet every step she took felt like reclaiming a piece of her life. Jonathan had instructed the HR team not to treat her differently, not to reveal anything she had gone through. She was hired on her merit, not his sympathy. Emily rose quickly, first because she worked hard, second because she refused to waste the chance she had been given. She became known for her organization, Life had a way of surprising Emily at the exact moments she had finally begun to feel settled. Months had passed since the gala, and the world around her had started shifting into a slower, gentler rhythm. Her days were filled with work she enjoyed, evenings spent with Lily's laughter echoing around their cozy apartment, and weekends that often included Daniel, sometimes all three of them baking cookies, sometimes strolling through quiet parks, sometimes simply talking about life in ways that made Emily feel seen in a way she never had before. But even beautiful new beginnings came with challenges. As Daniel's company prepared for its biggest product launch in years, he became busier than ever. Meetings ran into late nights, travel plans kept him away more often, and Emily found herself worrying again, worrying that she was slipping back into being just someone he helped, worrying that maybe she didn't belong in his world after all. She tried to silence these thoughts, but they often returned in moments when she was alone, washing dishes while Lily slept or folding laundry late at night when the apartment was too quiet. One evening, after days of not seeing Daniel in person, only brief calls and hurried messages, Emily invited him for dinner. Lily had drawn him a picture, a colorful page full of suns and flowers, and what she insisted was Daniel holding her hand. Emily cooked his favorite meal, trying to ignore the nervous flutter in her stomach. But Daniel didn't arrive on time. Minutes turned into an hour. The food grew cold. Lily fell asleep on the couch clutching the drawing. And Emily sat at the kitchen table, feeling that old familiar ache, the fear of being left behind. When Daniel finally called, apologizing earnestly, telling her a last-minute meeting had run late, Emily said it was fine. But her voice betrayed her. Daniel heard it. He always did. He arrived 20 minutes later, out of breath, still wearing his suit jacket, rainwater dripping from his sleeves. Emily hadn't noticed the storm until she saw him soaked from running. She opened the door, surprised and confused, and he stepped inside with a look she hadn't seen before, a look filled with regret, worry, and something deeper. He told her he never wanted her to feel abandoned, not ever again. He explained how overwhelming work had become but insisted nothing mattered more to him than the life they were building together. Emily listened silently as he spoke, her uncertainty slowly melting away beneath the sincerity in his eyes. When he saw Lily's drawing on the table, Daniel picked it up gently, running his thumb over the messy crayon lines as if it were a priceless painting. He thanked Emily for dinner, apologized again, and told her he would always choose them, no matter how busy life became. That night marked a shift. Daniel began balancing his time more intentionally. Emily stopped questioning whether she deserved a place in his world. And Lily continued to blossom in the warmth of a life finally filled with safety, joy, and stability. But the biggest change happened unexpectedly. One crisp October morning, Emily was getting ready for work when she felt lightheaded. At first, she brushed it off as stress or missed sleep, but the dizziness persisted over the next week. She grew tired easily, her appetite shifted, and she noticed a familiar heaviness in her body, a feeling she hadn't experienced since before Lily was born. A quiet suspicion formed in her mind, one she was almost afraid to confirm. She bought a test. Then another. And another. All positive. Emily sat on the bathroom floor, holding the small plastic stick in her trembling hands, her breath trapped in her chest. She wasn't afraid of motherhood, she had already survived it under impossible circumstances. But she was afraid of timing. Afraid of how Daniel would react. Afraid of complicating a relationship still finding its steady ground. That evening, Daniel arrived with groceries and Lily's favorite cookies. Emily watched him from across the room, her heart pounding, wondering how to tell him something that could change everything. Daniel noticed immediately, he always sensed when something was bothering her. He asked gently if she was okay. Emily opened her mouth, but the words caught in her throat. Daniel stepped closer, cupping her face with worry in his eyes, and that was when she finally whispered the truth. His reaction was not what she expected. Daniel didn't freeze. He didn't look shocked or overwhelmed. Instead, he pulled her into his arms, holding her with a tenderness that made her entire world stop shaking. He told her she wasn't alone, not now, not ever again. Emily felt tears spill down her cheeks as he kissed her forehead, promising that whatever came next, they would face it together. The news brought changes, big ones. Daniel insisted she take things easy. He attended every doctor's appointment, held her hand during every ultrasound, and talked to Lily about becoming a big sister. Emily watched Lily press her tiny ear against her belly, laughing as she announced she could hear the baby dancing. Emily felt something bloom inside her, something she once thought she had lost forever. A family. A real family. As the months passed, Daniel found a perfect home, a modest, beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood with a yard for Lily to play in and a nursery they decorated together. Emily didn't object this time. She didn't feel like a burden. She felt chosen. Loved. One evening, just weeks before the baby was due, Daniel took Emily and Lily to the place where everything changed, that same stormy parking lot where he had first seen her sleeping in the car, holding Lily tightly against the cold. Emily stood there, stunned by the memory, overwhelmed by how far life had brought her. Daniel knelt in front of her, pulling out a small velvet box Emily recognized instantly. He told her he wasn't proposing out of obligation or fear or responsibility, but out of love. Deep, unwavering love. Love for her resilience, her kindness, her strength. Love for Lily. Love for the family they had built piece by piece, starting from the lowest point of her life. Emily covered her face as tears streamed down, her heart overflowing. She said yes with a voice that shook from joy. Lily cheered. Daniel kissed Emily's hands. And in that exact moment, the universe felt whole. Their wedding was small, intimate, and perfect. Not luxurious. Not grand. Just love, simple, honest, powerful love. Months later, Emily gave birth to a healthy baby boy they named Evan Daniel Hayes, a name that honored the man who had saved their lives in more ways than one. Emily often thought back to the night she sat in the cold, broken-down van, believing life had ended for her. She never imagined that her darkest moment was actually the doorway to a future filled with hope she never dared dream about. A future where her children grew up safe. Where love found her in the rain. Where one knock on a window changed everything forever.